Hello, and on behalf of the Massachusetts Maritime Academy team, thank you very much for considering our request for improvements to our aquaculture and marine sciences laboratory. I'm Professor Bill Hubbard, a marine ecologist on faculty here at Mass Maritime in the Marine Science Safety and Environmental Protection Department. I just want to spend a few minutes giving you a feeling for what the lab is like now, what our future plans are, and the benefits of this lab to the Massachusetts maritime economy. On behalf of Admiral McDonald, the team would like to bring a few points out. The one in particular that's very obvious to us is that the Massachusetts Aquaculture and Marine Sciences Lab is a coastal lab. It's one where we train the future workforce and we do applied marine ecology for the coast of Massachusetts. We're not deep water, around the world, offshore oceanography. There's plenty of folks doing that from Massachusetts. We are a field lab and what we feel a research instrument of state agencies and federal agencies working with species important to the Commonwealth. I'm sure a lot of you know where Massachusetts Maritime Academy is, but I want to show you the unique opportunities we always have where we have access to Cape Cod Bay, Buzzards Bay, and Vineyard Sound with all our research vessels. Even with our students where they go out and do environmental monitoring, they have all these nearby environs where we could do some observations and find short-term and long-term monitoring opportunities. This is all based out of this aquaculture and marine science. The lab is located right at the intersection of Cape Cod Canal, and that's pretty unique because it's 3 to 5 knot currents going by all the time, billions of gallons of water, actually 2 billion coming out of Cape Cod Bay every tide, and 1 billion going back from Buzzards Bay. So the quality of the water is good for all kinds of research. Right now, we find ourselves sort of cramped by the space at the lab, and there's the lab. You can see that, the lab is the center of the lab there, and there is a greenhouse, but then we need storage. So like anything else, you add all these outbuildings, like my backyard actually with sheds, and now is time to modernize it. It was built in the 80s, and then also give us a little more elbow room within the building. The lab is great. It is extremely active facility. There are students, there are at any one time 4 or 5 different research projects going on, 2 or 3 grants going on. Students can take on their own projects or assist in some of the regional and national research. But very often I don't mind the leaking pipes once in a while because they're relatively easy to fix. But I always find myself walking around and asking the question, why did that circuit breaker break? And when you have salt water and electricity on the waterfront, you're going to get corrosion in areas that you just never expect. So it is time to go through the whole lab, upgrade everything, and give us not just the modern research equipment that we need, but also just modernize the infrastructure. What are we asking for? We're asking for about 908,000.
90.
Half of that would be the facility, build a facility next to this facility, probably keeping the greenhouse that we have since that's functional, and then giving the modernized space. So just about where you're looking at, we could put a building parallel to the existing facility. This was literally, we had inside going and NOAA was inside working. Wasn't quite enough room for the students to work inside, and last fall, I believe this is a picture. So we put them outside working, and they're more than happy to do that, but we just need the more space. So the other money in the grant would be, a quarter of the grants is going to be for pumps, filters, seawater piping. that infrastructure that, we're lucky enough to have good quality seawater. Then you have to get it controlled and distributed, and tanks, and when I say tanks, I mean the large blue tubs to do aquaculture in. And then the remaining would be modern science equipment, maybe a nutrient monitor, just get us back into the more digital age of long-term 24/7 monitoring of water quality and other parameters. As it is right now, we've attracted a lot of money. In the last 4 years, we've attracted $800,000 in coastal research. And I want to keep bringing out the point, this research is for coastal species, coastal economics. And we're looking at eelgrass for water quality, which certainly when DEP sees a problem with eelgrass, that is going to impact the seaport economy with wastewater treatment plants. So our work supports our state agencies, CZM, fisheries, and municipalities, stormwater monitoring and mapping. Also, just before we leave, I want to make sure we do have a live underwater camera, live currents, live water quality, temperature, salinity. All of that is on our website now. It would be great to have a little more room in the lab. Right now, it's all sort of stacked up in the back room. But we call it an oceanographic data portal, and it's one of the most unique things that we broadcast out of this facility. As I said, the science is about commercial species, whether it's mussels, clams, finfish, sea scallops in particular. We're uniquely situated to do sea scallop research. And of course, lobsters. We've been studying tagging lobsters and the lobster disease that's been moving through from Long Island Sound, moving with the warmer waters. So these projects are ongoing, but as I said, we're trying to allow the students to get the experience on projects that we make decisions in the Commonwealth for regional coastal management. NOAA's National Lab for Shellfish is in Milford, Connecticut. Long Island Sound in Connecticut doesn't have sea scallops, but we do in Massachusetts. So they've turned to us, and we partnered over the past couple of years, and just last winter, in the winter of 2019 into 2020, we did a very significant, the national research effort on ocean acidification and how that's going to impact the sea scallop industry. We're continuing that. We still have scallops going, and we'll continue experiments. And our intention is to be the field lab for NOAA for sea scallop research. And that's pretty big honor for us. On the left there is a sea scallop, the white meat you get on the dinner plates at every restaurant. Is that center muscle that opens and closes the valve you see there on the left. The eyes are photosensors. They basically sense and see if there's any food in the water. If there is food, they will open, and then the scallop will start feeding. No sense filtering and feeding if there's no food in the water. And also, if a predator comes or they see a quick shadow, they say, ooh, I'm going to close. The other species we're focused on, as I said, were lobsters, but also clams. We have some facilities to support local municipalities in their shellfish program. And then, we're very happy to allow the students to measure and be scientific support to town municipalities. And then at the end of the day, let the towns use these small clams and seed the beds for future recreational shellfishing. The lobster disease study is very interesting. We're working with the Division of Marine Fisheries. Just, the offshore incidence in southern Massachusetts of the lobster shell disease is around 35%. In Maine, it's only about 8 to 10%. But along Upper Buzzards Bay, we're running at 52%. So we're just trying to figure that out. And maybe the female lobsters are coming nearby, and they're the ones with the warmer water, and they have a little more incidence of the disease. So good long-term research, and also all of this is research students can assist in. Besides the facility itself and inshore, we have our fleet of right now about 5 really good quality research vessels. And they're coastal vessels. Like I said, we're not going offshore out into the deep Atlantic. We're going to Vineyard Sound. We're going to Cape Cod Bay. We're doing underwater mapping. We have some very unique, high precision underwater video capabilities. And we've published on this, and we're doing inventorying for a couple of the state agencies. All of that being said, it's great also to have the students on the deck of the boat getting real experience on how to operate all this equipment. The lab is the base for that. I mean, in order to do this offshore work, you have to work out of somewhere. The lab has the backup for all the equipment. We have mapped shell beds, crepidula beds. Those are those slipper shells you see along the beach a lot. So we've mapped them for the Commonwealth. We're beginning to realize that's where all the little juvenile black sea bass spend their time. It's a pretty unique habitat. And then everyone knows eelgrass as it floats by this time of year, especially. There's a lot of floating eelgrass. But eelgrass is an indicator for mass DEP of the quality of water. And on a large scale, if the wastewater treatment plants aren't operating properly, you'll see a response and a loss of eelgrass beds. The beds will contract or sometimes disappear. So the Commonwealth's been studying eelgrass for 25 years. The last few years, they've brought us in on our technology to help them do this. We are their field eyes for mapping eelgrass. A nice grant, but also something that is directly a decision-making science for the Commonwealth. There's a lot of techniques that students need to have under their belt to come out into the workforce, and I really am proud to say that Mass Maritime still maintains their hands-on training. And there's a lot of classroom work, that's fine. There's a lot of, in the lab work, but we also put them out in the field, put the equipment in front of them, take the samples out in the field, and bring it back to the Aquaculture and Marine Sciences lab for analysis. So we are training the maritime workforce for Massachusetts' future. I kind of love this concept, and this has just come to fruition in the last month or so. But we have an oceanographic data portal. You could go to the Mass Maritime website and you could search oceanographic data portal or just look under marine science, safety, and environmental protection. And on that page, you're able to click on a live underwater camera on the lower left there. You're also able to see in real time what the currents are, what the marine traffic is. You can listen to the ocean with hydroacoustic data, but you also see the temperature. This is just a screenshot, but right now the temperature, and we're having trouble. This is 1 meter off the bottom is the camera and the temperature, and 1 meter off the bottom, we're having 78-degree water this time of year. That's unheard of. It's almost tropical. This is true. So this gives the public a lot of information, the recreational and commercial boaters a lot of information, but it also gives K through 12 and other colleges and universities real-time data they can see and they could teach with. By saying thank you for considering funding the Aquaculture and Marine Science Lab. The importance of understanding the coastal ecology to support the economic viability of our fisheries, of our recreational resources, of our tourism, and even wastewater assimilation. It can't be understated. This is shrimp, by the way. These are skeleton shrimp. There are millions of them on all our pilings and all those fuzzy seaweeds that you see. And if you're a small fish, this is really important food for you. Juvenile flounder, juvenile sea bass. This is the animal that takes primary productivity, sunlight and nutrients. The plants make that into a plant material. This is the animal that converts that to animal material. So the basis of our food chain, and pretty good food for pretty good protein sources for most of our fisheries. So from this level of knowledge right up to the more, the larger, can we culture fish? Can we culture clams? That's the type of research that this lab provides. That's the type of training we want to provide to our students. So thank you for considering funding the Aquaculture and Marine Science Lab upgrade at Massachusetts Maritime Academy.